My name is Vanessa Agard-Jones. I am a Mellon Research Fellow in the Society of Fellows in the Humanities here at Columbia. I am affiliated with the Institute for Research in African American Studies. I consider myself to be a political anthropologist who does research on gender and sexuality in the African diaspora. My own research is about gender and sexual politics and their relationship to debates about sovereignty in Martinique. And my work has evolved to be more and more about actually the imbrication of sexual politics with environmental politics on the island. So I lived on the island for 18 months between 2010 and 2011, doing ethnographic fieldwork, which meant following people and talking to people. The issue that really emerged towards the end of my dissertation writing is the contamination of the island by a kind of pesticide called chlordécone, or organochlorine compound that promotes the development of estrogen or estrogen-like compounds in the environment. Environmental politics have some sort of bearing on sexual politics, both on the island and in the broader African diaspora. I did my PhD at NYU, New York University, in Anthropology and French Studies. I spent a semester at the École Normale in Paris. I fell into conversation with a group of activists based in Paris who were from the Antilles, who were from Martinique, who were from Guadeloupe. And they were doing quite a lot of organizing around homophobic violence in the region. And while I was very interested in their project and very much sympathetic to the kind of work they were trying to do, I had lots of questions about how they were framing what it was like to be gender transgressing or to be same-sex desiring in the region. Everyone has to leave. Everyone has to go to Paris. There's no way to live a good life in the region. And that made me raise an eyebrow and ask a question and say, where are the other voices in this conversation? I made a commitment to go down to the region and hear from people who are living there. I'm teaching a course called Queer Caribbean Studies that is a graduate seminar that's intended to give students the opportunity to think about how we understand same-sex desire and gender transgression in the Caribbean region and in its multiple diasporas, both in Europe and in North America. Part of the idea of the course is to think about transnational sexual politics, to try to understand the categories through which people both identify and mobilize having to do with gender and sexuality, and to have a kind of more nuanced approach to something like what we were discussing in class today, which is the kind of infamous dance hall debate. The question of what Time magazine has called the island of Jamaica the most homophobic place on earth, for example. And we definitely take issue with this particular kind of framing, and we're trying to understand how something like debates over homophobic lyrics in dance hall music might be better understood with respect to the history of colonial incursion in Jamaica, the history of Jamaica's relationship to the rest of the region, the way we might analyze how cultural products circulate both in the region and internationally, and it will be spending time reading really exciting new work on same-sex desire and gender transgression, from Martinique to Jamaica to Trinidad to Suriname to Cuba to the Dominican Republic, and back to New York City, actually. Thus far, one of the things that I've been most impressed by and excited about is the kind of intellectual community. On Thursdays, we get together and listen to each other talk about our work. I listened to a colleague give a talk a couple of weeks back in environmental history, really clear resonances with my own work, but came at these questions of environmental politics from a very different temporal and methodological standpoint. I'm incredibly lucky to be affiliated with the Institute for Research in African American Studies. It is one of the premier places to do work on African diaspora studies in the country. You have people on faculty at IRIS like Farah Griffin. And this is really a place where a vibrant conversation is happening about Black life. There are a number of other centers and departments here where the work that is happening is really exciting to me. So you have a place like the Institute for Research on Women and Gender, with scholars like Alondra Nelson and Laila Abu-Lughod, and Beth Povinelli. You have people who are doing really, Saidiya Hartman, really fascinating, exciting work. The Department of Anthropology, of course, is one of the foremost departments in the country as well. But I'm also kind of branching out a little bit to learn from other places. So I've been in initial contact with people who are doing work in environmental science, endocrinologists who are affiliated with the School of Public Health. I'm trying to learn more about pesticides and environmental estrogens. It's turning into the focus of my book. And so part of what I'm doing with my postdoctoral time is quite a lot of self-education and getting a new kind of science education. And this has been a really great place to do that thus far.